The 14th National Conference of the All India Democratic Women's Association pays homage to and the memory of the leaders and activities of the women's and other democratic movements who passed away since 2023, who lost their lives due to Israeli attacks on innocent people of Palestine due to pandemic, during farmers' struggle and in defense of democracy and equality. We recall the contribution of these leaders and activists at a time when the movement is faced with the challenging task of confronting an authoritarian regime which has intensified its repression and exploitation of women. The conference takes pledge to carry forward their legacy and commitment. Comrade Sitaram Yechury, General Secretary of CPIM, one of the outstanding leaders of the left movement. Sitaram played a prominent role in expanding the left movement. He was one of the key persons in formation of the India bloc to fight back the right-wing forces during the parliamentary elections. His untimely death is a shocking and a great loss to the nation. Comrade Buddhadev Bhattacharya, former Chief Minister, West Bengal, he was a key person in formulating pro-people's policies. His demise is a great loss to West Bengal as well as the whole nation. Comrade V.S. Sachidanandan, veteran of the communist movement and former Chief Minister of Kerala, whose life was filled with struggles and sacrifices committed for gender equality, inspired many towards the left movement. AIDWA paid homage to Comrade N. Shankaraya, veteran leader of communist movement and freedom fighter, former President and General Secretary of the AIKS, Comrade Vasudeva Acharya, veteran parliamentarian and leader of the working class movement, Comrade Sunit Chopra, Joint Secretary of the All India Agricultural Workers Union, Comrade Madan Ghosh, senior leader of the agrarian movement and former Sabhapati of Burdwan District's Jilla Parishad, Comrade Mridul De, former leader of the student movement and prominent writer in Ganeshakti Daily, Comrade Kanai Banerjee, freedom fighter and veteran trade union leader, K.M. Tiwari, leader of working class movement in Delhi, Taunojam Maloti Leima, who organized the Kisans, students and women in Manipur, Nepal Dev Bhattacharya, former General Secretary of the Students' Federation of India and former MP. AIDWA paid tributes to Comrade Nguyen Phu Trong, General Secretary of the Communist Party of Vietnam. He dedicated his life for the nation and strictly followed the ideology and principles of President Ho Chi Minh. Chris Matlock, South African communist leader, strong fighter against apartheid, Aplem Beltej, Tunisian women's rights activist, Katujin Nisa Siraj, Singaporean women activist, Maria Mies, German sociologist and Marxist feminist, Daniel Ellsberg, academician, politician and US military analyst who released the Pentagon Papers related to the Vietnam War, for which he was sentenced to 115 years imprisonment. Pep Mujica, former president of Uruguay and Latin American revolutionary, Pope Franco, who stood for human rights and gender equality. AIDWA paid tributes to Sarojini Balanandan, one of the founder leaders of AIDWA in Kerala. Comrade Neelima Moitra, AIDWA leader and founder General Secretary of All India Federation of Anganwadi Workers and Helpers. Nandarani Deb Burman, pioneer of the Democratic Women's Movement in Tripura. Chandrakala Pandey, former AIDWA CEC member. Former Rajya Sabha member and editor of Samya, Meera Tamuli, former AIDWA CEC member for Assam. Preetam Kaur Virk, who was the former president of Janavadi Istri Sabha, Punjab. Shifali Mazumdar, AIDWA Tripura State Secretariat Member. Shefali Majumdar, AIDWA West Bengal State Secretariat Member. Mahani Konar, Trade Union Leader in West Bengal. Bharati Ben Palmer, former President, AIDWA Gujarat State Committee. Minu Saha, former Joint Secretary of AIDWA, Tripura State Committee, and CEC member. Gauri Pal, AIDWA Tripura State Committee member and Secretary of Kowai Subdivision. Jalpari Devi, AIDWA activist in Bihar. AIDWA paid its respect to those comrades who were brutally killed by the authoritarian forces, Dilip Shukla Das and two other comrades who lost their lives during post-poll violence unleashed by BJP goons in Tripura. Gulab Singh, leader of the Kisan Sabha in Uttar Pradesh, who was attacked by miscreants and died due to injuries. Rajbul Haq, Roshan Ali and Mansoor Alam, who were brutally killed during the recent Panchayat elections in West Bengal. Subhash Munda, a young Adivasi leader in Jharkhand who was brutally murdered by the land mafia, Jatin Sajid, a trade union a trade union worker, brutally killed by RSS goons in Kerala. Penchalia, killed by the drug mafia in AP. Andhra Pradesh. Junaid and Nasir, who had been kidnapped, brutally beaten and then burned alive by criminals belonging to the Bajrang Dal Gaurakshak gang operating on the border of Rajasthan and Haryana, and Arifa Jan, who was brutally murdered in Kashmir. AIDWA condoled the death of intellectuals and academicians who contributed for the development of nation. A.G. Noorani, who stood firmly for secularism and wrote volumes against Hindutva ideology. M.S. Swaminathan, pioneer of the Green Revolution. Dr. A.D. Damodaran, a renowned scientist and former director of CISR. Mohini Giri, former chairperson, National Commission for Women and founder of Guild of Service. Sarah Abubakar, who stood for women's equality and fought patriarchy through her writings and was awarded by many literacy associations. Shyam Benegal, who directed many films, exposed feudal exploitation and women's oppression. A.K. Bagchi, eminent scholar, Vivan Sundaram, one of the India's foremost creative artists who consistently championed working class interest. Shakya Jafri, who fought the justice for husband who was brutally killed in the Gujarat genocide. Dr. Snehalada Deshmukh, pediatric surgeon and Vice Chancellor of Mumbai University, who took the historic decision of writing the student's mother's name on her marks sheet and degree certificate. Shanda Bai Kamble, Marathi writer and Dalit activist, who was the first Dalit woman who wrote her autobiography. Prabir Ghosh, writer and founder of the Science and Rationalist Association. V.T. Innocent, former MP from Kerala, Sahitya Akademi Awardee. Ranjit Guha, historian and member of the World Federation of Democratic Youth. Arun Manilal Gandhi, author and grandson of Mahatma Gandhi. Ravi Pudi Venkadadri, humanist and founder of AP Rationalist Association. Devagi Nilayangod, social reformer. K. Vishwanath Reddy, leader of Progressive Writers Movement. Dr. Chiranjeevi Kumari, educationalist, actively participated in literacy movement. Professor G.N. Sai Baba, writer and human rights activist who was imprisoned for more than 7 years on false allegations. Prabha Ben, social worker. Jahadi Ali Khan, editor-in-chief, Siast Daily in Hyderabad. Chitran Nambudripad, educationalist and founder secretary of All India Students Federation of Cochin. Professor Anil Bhatti, professor, Center of German Studies. R. Chambagar Lakshmi, historian. N.K. Jose, historian, Kerala Sahitya Akademi Awardee and popularly known as Dalit Bandhu. L. Ramadas, ex-chief of Naval Staff, actively advocated constitutional rights and took initiative to induct women into armed forces. Bimala Raba, human rights activist who campaigned against witch hunting and was instrumental in bringing the law for prevention and protection from witch hunting. Professor Kamala Hambana, writer, Dalit and Women's Movement, activist and awardee of Sahitya Akademi. M.D. Vasudevan Nair, progressive writer in Malayalam. Utpalendu Chakravarti, documentary filmmaker. Ratan Tata, industrialist. Shibu Soren, leader of the Jharkhand Mukti Morcha. Satyapal Malik, former governor of JK, Jammu Kashmir and Jammu Kashmir. KK Kochu, Dalit writer and activist. Tulsi Gowda, environmentalist. Justice Fatima Bibi, first woman judge of the Supreme Court of India. Aziz Mushabbar Mahamadi, former Chief Justice of India and Chief Champion of Minority Rights. Saeed Rafat Alam, former Chief Justice of Madhya Pradesh and Allahabad High Courts and former UP Human Rights Commission. Shanti Bhushan, eminent lawyer who stood for secular democratic rights. AIDWA pays condolences to eminent personalities of art and culture who died during the last 3 years. Yamini Krishnamurthy, classical dancer, Zakir Hussain, tabla player, Godavari Datta, prominent artist in Madhubani painting, Vani Jairam, musician, Jamuna Datt, Jamunan B. Saroj Devi, famous film actress, K. Vishwanath, famous Telugu film director who stood firm in support of intercaste marriage. Lalita Lajmi, painter. Kalamandalam Devagi, classical dancer. Kalamandalam Devagi, classical dancer. K. Vasu, progressive films producer. Benani Ghosh, Rabindra Sangeet artist. Geetanjali Iyer, Doordarshan's legendary voice. Krishna Veni, senior Telugu film actress. Partho Ghosh, film director. Subin Garg, a progressive Indian musician and sang in the Assamese, Bengali and Hindi language films.